everyone, Gaara here and welcome to a brand new video. Today I want to talk about the next upcoming expansion that Blizzard has announced yesterday in their announcement of the announcement, and the expansion is gonna be released in early August, and they will release further cards starting this month on the 24th, something like that. And they also released 5 new cards from the new expansion, and I'm gonna talk about these 5 new cards in this video, and let's just jump right into it. The first card I want to talk about is Prince Keleseth. I gave this card quite a bit of thought, and it's actually quite impossible to say if this card will be any viable or not. The biggest problem with a card like this is first of all, but the stats are okay. It's similar to Pyros, but right now where we have kind of like a curve-centric Hearthstone, having a 2-mana 2/2 is not very good, so the upside has to be really nice. The upside of this card is really nice. It has insane value if you can build a deck supporting this card. When you think about it, you can play this and then let's say follow up with a Tar Creeper, then you're already like extremely set against most aggressive decks. But yeah, all your minions basically get +1/+1. Also against other control decks, this card is very strong, obviously, because it buffs your entire deck. But yeah, the biggest downside about a card like this is obviously if it's in the bottom of your deck, then it won't buff too many cards, obviously, and you still have to draw back from building a deck around this card. Why I right now don't see this card being played in too many decks is that the 2-mana slot is very important. I went quickly over all the classes and just to see what 2-drops you usually play. You don't play that many 2-mana cards except in Mage. Mage plays like the most. Druid, for example, has Wild Growth and Wrath, and that's about it most of the time. If you play, let's say, a Jade Druid or a Big Druid, you don't play any other 2-drops. But yeah, cutting a Wild Growth, so basically you would play this in a slower Druid deck, because in an aggressive Druid deck you play a lot of 2-drops. And this effect is very interesting because you just have to cut the 2-mana slot, right? And so you basically could play this in a control Druid deck but without Wild Growth, and it seems very rough to think about a slower deck Druid deck where you can cut Wild Growth. I guess in Jade Druid maybe. I've seen a few people starting to cut Wild Growth in Jade Druid just because it's too slow versus aggro. This would be like a play, but as I said, yeah, if you draw it later, it is pretty bad. But yeah, it's like, when you think about it, if you draw this on turn 2 as a Jade Druid, that is insane. If all your Jade main bodies also are very powerful, on top of the Jades getting bigger and bigger, like your Auctioneer gets bigger, your Primordial Drake, it seems very busted. Another deck that I was thinking about right now, at least with the existing cards where you could play this, is the Quest Hunter, because in Quest Hunter you also don't play any 2-mana cards. You wanna fill the deck with just as many 1-drops as possible, and then this card would make sense. Because it buffs all your 1-drops by +1/+1. But besides those two, I really can't think of yet another class. Like Paladin runs Equalities, which seems too important. Priest was always struggling with the 2-mana slot, so it would be interesting to have that in a Control Priest or Control Shaman. But yeah, you can't run cards like Jade Claws or the Elemental in Priest or Shadowed Pain, so that seems to be a huge drawback. Like you basically use this effect to be stronger versus aggro, I would say, not versus control, because you outvalue control in other ways. Yeah, it's a very interesting card, at least. Yeah, you will. It's not like unplayable. It's obviously a strong card if you can make it work. And the drawback or the requirement for this card is very unique and interesting, and I'm very curious about, yeah, if we get like enough maybe good strong 1-drops so we can support this card in a control deck, or yeah, in an aggro deck this is like obviously not played because of the 2 mana slot, is just too important. So the next card we have here is the Spirit Lash. It is a priest spell, and this is also the first time they introduce the effect Lifesteal. Lifesteal works in the way that you gain life equal to the amount of damage you dealt. So basically with this card you deal 1 damage to all minions. If you have a bunch of minions on board, you heal for a lot. 14 minions equals to 14 health, and this should also work with spell power. So basically if you deal on a full board of 14 minions, you deal 2 damage, you should be healing for 28, so basically full, which is nuts. Besides lifesteal, so how good is this card if you don't need the lifesteal? It's basically a 2 mana whirlwind effect, which is super bad. It damages your own minions, so you can do this with Pyromancer, but Pyromancer would die, so that's not very yeah, good. What is very interesting is damaging your own minions is not that bad in Priest because of Cleric, so you could play Cleric plus this and then heal yourself, draw a card, you know, heal for a bunch. Spell power is very good with a card like this, but spell power is very rare in Hearthstone right now. Since Azure Drake cycled out, you will have a lot of problems finding spell power, and yeah, without spell power this card just doesn't cut it, you know. It's kind of like a Maelstrom that heals you, which is really good, but without spell power also right now, even though Maelstrom is a good card, without spell power it sees only play in a token shaman deck. Yeah, people play it in other decks, but other decks are not very successful. So yeah, obviously I like the effect a lot. It's very, very cool. It's great to have more healing and a different way of healing. Moving on. Shallow Gravedigger. It is a Death Rattle minion for 3 mana and a random Death Rattle minion to your hand. They announced that there will be a lot of new Death Rattle minions. They want to bring the Death Rattle team back. The last time we had a Death Rattle themed expansion was Naxxramas, and I really liked Naxxramas. It was a broken expansion, but I enjoyed it the most, yeah, because it made so many decks viable. Shallow Gravedigger, the stat line of this card is very bad. It is basically a Magma Rager with worse stats, but a decent effect. Like a random Death Rattle minion is not even good. There's a lot of bad Death Rattle minions you can get. You're more likely to get a class specific Death Rattle minion, like around 3 times more likely, but still I think this card is just won't see any play, even with the Death Rattle based teamed expansion. It's just, it dies to patches, it dies to hero power, and then you get like basically a random bad card on average. So basically you rather have a good card in your deck than playing a 3 mana free one and then get a random bad card. It's not good enough, the upside in a tempo based meta. So moving on, Chillblade Champion, another lifesteal card. It is a paladin card, charge, and it has 3 attack and 2 health. Very cool. Bring back charge as well. It's kind of like as rare as lifesteal nowadays. The stat line is pretty bad for 4 mana if you compare to Corcoran Elite, and yes, it heals for free. So basically it's a 4 mana heal for free, but if you don't buff this card, yeah, the opponent just kills it. It's like the way how Hearthstone works, it's not just about healing. Like, there's not that much burn in the game. It is really bot centric or bot focused. A lot of the currently played aggressive decks, they fight for the board, and this card is obviously horrible for fighting for the board. Let's just look at the Token Shaman. Like, Token Shaman doesn't have to burn you out. They play very little burn. Only Jade Lightning. They will fight for the board and then Bloodlust and kill you in one turn. They just deal 30 damage. The lifesteal won't matter. A token druid is the same pretty much. They will just play, I don't know, Bittertide Hydra and then go for face and kill you. And same with Pirate Warrior actually. Pirate Warrior will War Axe this and then go face for like a gazillion damage. I don't think that this card... The problem about cards like this is they... Right now how the expansions progressed is that they have to have also very good stats to see play. Look at cards like the Draconic Operative, just as an example. The card is an insane effect, but the basic stat line is also premium. And there's very few cards that are played that have good effects that don't have premium stats. And this card has absolutely nothing of a premium stat, so I don't think this card will see any play, at least for now, with all the information we got. So Deathstalker Rexha, it is one of the new hero cards. They have shown every class will get one of these super cool hero cards, and basically what this card is doing is for 6 mana, which is fairly cheap when you compare it to a card like Jaraxxus, you get a new hero. Basically you place your hero with a better one and you gain 5 armor as well, which is pretty cool. And you get a new hero power and a battle cry effect. The new hero power is something with zombie thingy, and you basically get to choose between 2 beasts that cost 5 mana or less, and you melt them together, and then that new creation gets the combined effect and mana cost of the both beasts you chose, which is very powerful. Not just because of the minion you get is usually very powerful, but you have infinite value. You can do this every single turn, which sounds kind of broken. So if you're facing a control deck that is based around out-resourcing your opponent, you are gonna be in a good spot because you have infinite strong minions. Basically you play 2 minions per, like you gain 2 minions per turn. Like you don't even need card draw. It's kind of crazy. And on top of it you heal yourself and you deal, the most important thing is the battle cry effect, deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. So the biggest problem about cards like Jaraxxus are that usually your opponent doesn't just stop doing things, playing minions. So getting a card like Jaraxxus out is very, very difficult. Else you would see this card being played in every deck. And the new hero cards, this is the first one they showed. I don't know if they all have 6 mana cost and they all do similar things. I can imagine they're all doing completely different things. But for example, when we look at this Hunter hero card, it costs 6 mana, so you could actually play this in super late game with, let's say, a Deadly Shot if there's like only one big minion on the board and get this guy out. Or yeah, just if you play against an aggro deck, you heal yourself and you clear the board. Deal 2 damage to all minions is really, really good as a battle cry. So you can get this card out, and if it doesn't reduce your total health, but instead you gain health, there's really no drawback in playing this card. Yeah, it's just an extremely powerful card. The only problem is you have to draw it, right? If you build a deck around this card and it's in the bottom, that's like the biggest drawback with legendary cards. You just have 1 copy in your deck and it can be in the bottom, but it gives you the win condition, which Hunter always lacked in a control type deck that Blizzard tried to with the hero power, where you can buff a beast +2, but you run out of cards as Hunter, and this fixes it. You get a nice little AoE against aggressive decks, it heals yourself, which Hunter is also lacking, and it gives you infinite value instead of card draw, which Hunter also is lacking. The only problem is right now Control Hunter is like the weakest control deck out of all 9 classes. so it's difficult to make a control hunter work even if you have a super powerful card like this. But that definitely helps to strive to just make it work, and I hope it doesn't just get bullied by a Jade Druid. Right now I would say anything that is slow will just get bullied by a Quest Rogue or by a Jade Druid, you know, those super anti-slow decks. And yeah, if every class card is similar like this and you want to just build a slow deck, value oriented, yeah, Jade Druid will just stomp on everything. But yeah, besides that prediction, I'm really looking forward to all the new cards, and that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and peace out.